Alright, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I am back, and it is time for another 1 vs 1 Starcraft 2 replay cast. We have got ourselves something I haven't cast in a long time. It is the Clown Fiesta matchup. It is a Protoss taking on another Protoss player. In the bottom left, we have got one of the world's best Protosses. It's Raise Your Edge Gaming Zest. I have cast Zest a lot recently. He plays in a lot of our Africa World tournaments, which is always exciting to have someone as good as him coming out and playing just in like any tournament. And now we have gotten the top right-hand side of the map, playing for Africa TV SC2. It is Stats. Stats also one of the best Protoss players in the world. He is looking really good himself, and is going to be taking on Zest in what should be an epic PvP, I imagine. I know that there's a lot of you out there who don't necessarily appreciate mirror matchups. I cast TVTs on the channel because I'm a little bit biased, I'll admit it, seeing as how I main Terran and some of my favorite players are Terran. But I gotta check out the other matchups every now and then. Starcraft 2 is 9 matchups, and so you gotta be able to, or you gotta be willing to watch them all. Now we take a look. We have got Stats going for a double gate, same for Zest. It's a mirrored situation, but PvP is known to get a little bit crazy, and it looks like we already may have something a little bit cheeky. Zest throwing up a pylon outside of his base, whereas Stats is throwing his in a similar spot, but on the high ground. Now, we'll take a look what Zest is going to use that pylon for, but the cheekiness has already started, and the match is just going to move on from here. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure to hit that like button. Let's try and hit 50 likes on this video. If we can do that, that would be absolutely amazing. You guys are the best at blowing that like goal away usually. Now we take a look. Stats is scouting out with his probe. He's going to be just checking locations, maybe thinking of doing something cheeky himself. We'll see, but there's a robo going up for Stats, so he'll be playing the more passive style. Both players are going for the double adept. Just having those units, they shade around, they can sneak in and get damage done. Okay, yeah, we see double adept on the way for both players. Looks like Stats following it up with double stalker. Zest going for 2 more adepts, interestingly enough. Personally, I'm a big fan of going for the stalkers over the adepts. I do understand why pros go for the stalkers or go for the adepts instead of stalkers, though. They're much more quick. Looks like these two players are having a bit of a micro battle right now as their adepts clash in the center of the map. Looks like Stats are going to shade through, whereas Zest will not. Probe for Zest is actually looking to block this. Stats throw does get up a shield battery, though, in time in order to block these adepts coming into his main base, whereas Stats own 2 adepts. Haven't been able to move in, partially due to the fact that Zest has his own adepts on their tail. And one of the adepts do finish their shade, so it's going to be a bit of a messy engagement, these 2 adepts fighting each other. It looks like Stats does actually run into Zest's adepts, though. So if we take a look, the 2 actually trade an adept for an adept. So this game is already looking a little bit wonky. It's been too long, I think, since I cast a PvP. Now we see Zest hidden the Stargate. He's going to start building 2 oracles. If you get out 2, you can fly in and one-shot probes, even if there's a shield battery, which is quite a big deal. But oh, take a look at this for Stats. He sent in a probe and he's spotted the Stargate, so he now knows what he's up against. Knowing where the Stargate is a big deal. Zest is getting up his own robo, but the cat's out of the bag. Stats should be playing defensive with his stalkers, knowing there's 2 oracles out on the map. These oracles are going to find this one probe. They'll activate their pulsar beams because, of course, Stats knows that this has been Zest knows this has been scouted, pardon me. So he is just going to split his oracles up and try looking for any little thing that he can get. This probe is being a big jerk to the pylon of this Stargate. If Zest wants to keep using that, he may have to try and save it. Looks like Zest may shade up with his adepts. He's got a prism with this, though, and that's actually Stats shading up with his adepts and using his prism. Whereas Zest actually let his shield battery and his wall finish, interestingly enough. I'm not sure if this was intentional or not. Stats is going to use those adepts in order to kill off that pylon a little bit quicker. This is going to prevent Zest from getting a Phoenix, which is quite a shame because you want a Phoenix when you're up against a Warp Prism. Double Immortals are on the way for both players. Stats has the quicker expansion, though, and just due to the nature of the openings, I'd say Stats has a slight lead this match. Zest a little bit behind in his tech due to committing to this Stargate. The game definitely could even out a little bit, though, so we'll see. Zest has got a probe moving out on the map. I'm not sure where this guy's going, probably to rebuild a pylon next to this Stargate. The oracles, of course, of Zest can also get some damage done potentially if Stats goes for a move out or anything. He's not without benefit from going for that Stargate. It just didn't get much done yet, is the main point. Zest is going to kill off his shield battery, so he'll be able to move out of his map, out of his base, pardon me. Then he'll be able to take his Nexus if he wants or go for an attack. And there's a chance it could be an attack. I mean, Zest is moving across the map. He's got a Prism, got his Immortal. He's going to be moving in. Looks like these two Stalkers are here to try and repel the Prism, but the Adepts are going to get into Zest's main base, and this will definitely be some dead workers. Zest has to warp in his own Adepts to try and shut these down. They shade out for Stats, so Stats getting a bit of damage, forcing a warp in at home for Zest, and then the game is going to play out from there. Looks like a recall gets used by Stats. Not sure what he's recalling. Looks like it was his Prism to just get that back there to help out. He'll need it to micro those Immortals. And Zest is going to be committing to a big attack here. I mean, take a look. He's pretty much all in at this point. He doesn't have a Nexus started, where Stats just about has this done. So the question for Zest will be, can he break this location? Can he get some good damage done? He's trying to get damage done with his Oracles while Stats is busy dealing with the attack on the front. But I'm not sure if he'll be able to do that. The rocks are getting killed off. This is going to give Zest more surface area to move in. Zest has even thrown up a pylon and is building a shield battery to help himself out, which is quite unorthodox, I feel. I mean, it's not unheard of, but in a situation like this, I'm not sure how much that'll really help. The Oracles are still flying around as well, but Zest is not in a great spot. The longer this goes on, the worse it is for him. He's going to have such a tough time breaking his opponent right now. 3 shield batteries are going up for Zest on the offensive side of the map. We'll see how much they're really going to help him in this situation. It's going to be shield battery versus shield battery. Stats has his own. Looks like the Immortals are going to come in, start shooting units. Of course, the shield battery will help heal them up, though. The Oracles are in position for Zest. Going to use Revelation on the army of Stats, and he says, yep, that's a big old Protoss army. I'm not sure what I can do about that. The Adepts of Zest are going to have a lot of work to do. They're going to shade forward. They may be able to just one-shot off units. They're going to try and get into the main base of Stats, but that's not going to happen. Zest will have to pull the trigger on this attack sooner rather than later, I feel, but it looks like the battle's going to begin now. Zest was going to be going for a drop with his Immortals and Prism, but now suddenly he has been baited into a fight. His Oracles are adding a lot of damage into the mix while this is going on. They haven't been targeted down yet. Stats even has Stalkers on the high ground, not doing too much, and it looks like Zest may be able to break Stats here. He's trying to focus down the Immortals, pick those off. The Adept shade forward to bypass the force fields, and it looks like Zest has actually broken his way through Stats' army. Stats pulls probes, but not really correctly. They weren't actually fighting. They were clicked on that Prism by mistake. And most of the shield battery energy is gone for Stats, so he doesn't have much to heal up his units. He did have another Immortal come on down to help out, though, and it looks like he may be able to hold on, but we'll see. The Adepts for Zest are so good at tanking. He's just pushing forward. He wants to go for the throat. I mean, we'll take a look. 2 Adepts have shaded into the main base of Stats, but they're not being micro. Zest is just focused on this push. It's 2 Immortals against the 1, but the units of Zest are more fresh. He's got a good count of Stalkers. Stats is warping in whatever he can to hold on, or Zest actually is warping in those Zealots to help buffer for himself, and it looks like that Stats may have fallen here. It's looking really, really close. The Immortals are being microed as well as they can. The Disruptor being out could be a big aid. One of the Immortals for Stats just narrowly gets saved. Another shield battery is finished up for Stats. It's going to help heal up these Immortals, keep them alive. These Immortals respectively are at 5 and 2 kills, so putting out a lot of damage. Stats has managed to hold on to his Nexus so far, though. The longer this game goes on, the better it gets for him. The main bases are starting to mine out, and Zest is on 1 base, so Zest will slowly start to wear thin. A Disruptor shot goes out, but Zest does save his units. He's also hurting the economy of Stats, while seeing as how his own is hurting, which is a very big deal. Disruptor for Stats is lurking, wanting to get a big connection off. Tosses down a Nova. It's going to hit those Stalkers. It kills 3 Stalkers. That was a massive, massive connection. It looks like Zest, though, has kind of baited Stats' units into his main base, so he's going to get an attack off at the natural, hurting the economy of his opponent. The 2 Disruptors are there, though. Zest tries to save units from them using the Prism, does an okay job. But so far, Zest has not killed Stats yet, and Stats keeps the Nexus alive. He holds on. This is an absolute nail-biter of a PvP. Zest, for some reason, starts Gravitic Drive back at home, and somehow, I guess he's just going back home. He can't macro out of this, though. Yeah, he totally cannot macro out of this, but he's gonna throw up a Nexus. He's gonna give it a try. He killed a few of Stats' probes, but Stats does have the fresher base. I think he's in a much better spot long-term. Zest, to try and counteract this, is gonna move out, go for Immortal Drop, seeing as how it's a very powerful tool, 2 Immortals, and then I guess just sit back at home, wait for his Nexus to finish up and play the game out. Stats definitely will have a lead here, though, if we can pull up an income graph. It is absolutely in the favor of Stats. The Immortals, though, are going to get some damage done for Zest. He's got that Prism speed, so he can micro this very, very rapidly, just picking off 2 pylons. Nicely done. Stats was trying to rebuild that, but he loses it right away. So, I mean, it's not like Zest isn't making plays, but the problem is he hasn't made enough of a play. We see Stats is also going for a Prism drop with the 2 Disruptors. The 2 Disruptors can be microed against, but I'd say the 2 Immortals are definitely better in a low eco situation like this. Zest unloads the Immortals, powers the shield battery to heal up his Immortal shields. The Immortals are going to start focusing down a few of Stats' probes, which is quite a big deal. Denying mining at this natural base is actually huge for any amount of time. Immortals are scrapping right now. Zest wanted to get that weakened one, but wasn't quite able to do so. Zest comes in with the Prism once again, just wants to pop off 1 or 2 more probes. Any amount of units he can get is a big deal. Those 2 Immortals do one-shot probes. Zest is playing with fire, pardon me, as he micros this Prism. We see Stats behind this, though, decides to throw up double Stargate. He just wants to shut down the control that Zest has in this game, shut down that Prism. And having double Stargate is a way to do that. These Immortals may drop at the back of Zest's base. Can he pick off, say, one of the Zealots? He's going to grab a probe. He's still getting damage done here and there, and if we do take a look, Zest has actually got up his own Nexus now. He's building up a Phoenix count, whereas Stats hasn't started his yet, because his Stargates are later. Look at this, Zest comes in with the Immortals. He's trying to pick off any little thing he can get. He's not getting a lot, though, because Stats is such a good Protoss. He has built up that high Phoenix count. I'm not sure what that was about. I don't speak Korean, so who knows. Anyway, the Prism is still out for Zest. It's moving around the map, trying to get whatever it can. He's going to have to run away with the Immortal and the Prisms once Stats gets out enough of his own Phoenix, but Zest's so smart. Actually has his own Phoenix on this Prism to guard it against the Phoenix of Stats, and that is actually such a smart play, I feel, to allow him to continue dropping with this Prism. It's such a risky one, I'll say, but it's such a smart one at the same time. But Zest does have to be so careful with this Prism. The Immortals are red. The Prism is a volatile unit. We are seeing a counter drop with Disruptors for Stats. Going to be moving across the map, going to be looking for some big Nova hits. Zest pulls the probes, going to lose a few. Good split, loses 2 probes. How well does he split again? Loses 4 more, so loses 6 probes in all. Not insignificant damage from Stats. Stats will need a recall, though, to keep this Prism alive, and there it goes. It's going to be close whether it'll die or not. Oh, the Prism does survive for Stats, so that is huge. Right now we see Zest still lagging behind, lost some probes. The Phoenix versus Phoenix battle is going to start heating up, but Stats is going up in supply due to his double Stargate. I'm not sure what Zest is saying, but I think it might be, I'm in trouble. The Phoenix and Disruptors are out for Stats. He's got a nasty looking army. Zest may just decide to go for a big attack. Prank is actually translating in chat, pardon me. Disruptor Novas go out. They don't get anything done. Looks like Zest is going to go for a big 2-base attack, try and kill Stats. This could be it. This could be the game-deciding fight. Zest apparently got his own Disruptor out and got a big connection. Stats did not lift it up. Failure to do that really hurt him here. Both players have very injured Immortals, but Stats are getting picked off easier. Zest is looking to push forward right now. He is going to have to dodge a Disruptor. He does a great job splitting. He's actually hit Stats' third base hard. He's broke the location. Stats with the question mark. Might be a little bit BM. We see a disruptor shot go out, but it's going to get lifted up. Zest is trying to split against the disruptors. He's actually doing a really, really darn good job. He's got reinforcing stalkers. He may get stats as Prism. That's huge. He's going to get stats as disruptors, which is also huge. It's mainly just Phoenix in the sky for stats. Has Zest actually done it? It's such a nail-biter of a situation. Pulling up the units count. It's 5 stalkers for Zest against a few units for stats with Phoenix support. Looks like a Zealot did get out for stats, and I think he is going to hold out. The Phoenix just reigning supreme there, able to pick off all of Zest's units, and I think stats has held with a third base. Zest was so close to making that attack work, but not quite in the end. He has fought so hard in this PvP. Stats saying something in chat again. I'm not sure what these two are saying. They're bantering. Stats saying it was a great game. Maybe that's a little bit savage there, saying the game's over, but I think Stats very well may be right with that. We see there's enough units on the ground for Zest. Zest saying dodging disruptor shots was easy peasy, and I mean, I disagree when it comes to dodging disruptors personally, but in the end it looks like Zest is going to go for an attack. He's got just stalkers though. They're not going to cut it. There's too many Phoenix. There's too many units on the ground for stats. The difference between having that third base, having all the Phoenix and not, is too big of a mountain for Zest to climb. He's going to try and micro with the Prism as well as he can, but his units are just too brittle. GG, what an epic PvP. Stats is the one who takes it. What a fun match. I haven't cast a PvP, but I'm glad I cast this one. Yeah, I haven't cast PvP in a while. Ladies and gentlemen, hit that like button if you did enjoy this PvP. You made it all the way to the end. You will be a god if you do that. Subscribe if you haven't. It's free. Press that bell icon to get notified whenever I put up a video, whether you're a existing subscriber or a new subscriber. That's an option. Join me on Discord. I link that in the description of every video. Same goes for my Twitter. And thanks so much to everyone for tuning in. I'll see you next time. This has been LaughNgamez.